Morning everybody, hope you're up nice and early as well, enjoying yourselves. So I thought that I would share a little bit more on a couple of points I've been talking around a lot recently. It's all to do with virtual assistants, outsourcing, and just to give you more of an insight into what me and James are doing at the moment within our business and how you can take a couple of very simple steps to do exactly the same. So I spoke yesterday around we've taken on our third virtual assistant. So we're now at the point whereby we've outsourced quite a lot of our front end work in our business. So I wanted to give a little bit more depth and detail into that, the process of how we've done it, what we've done to make sure that we're taking on people that are staying with us for the long term. A little bit about personality profiling and how that plays into the mix. But ultimately, I want to give you 5 steps that you could take today and start to implement over the next week to start outsourcing some of your tasks. Morning, Ruth. Nice of you to join us. So the first main steps, or the first 5 steps really that I want to cover. So number 1 is detailing all of your tasks. Because if we don't know what our tasks are, how do we know what we want to outsource? So detailing them is very, very crucial. Number 2 is creating the advert. So in recruitment, we used to call it being specifically vague. So we want to make sure that we're giving enough detail that we're attracting the right people, but it's vague enough that we don't seclude what it is that we're looking to, or skill set wise that we're looking to attract. So it's about being specifically vague in your advert. Number 3 is using Google Forms. Now this was relatively new to us because when we took on our first VA, we actually missed this step out, and subsequently, had we done it up front, it would have been a much smoother process. So I'll come on to that into a little bit more detail later on. Number 4 is a 3-stage interview process. Again, we only used to do 2 stages, but what we've found is since we've added in the 3rd stage, what that's allowed us to do is sift through the higher skills faster, so that when we are bringing this virtual assistant onto the business, they are joining us in the right capacity to stay longer term. So we have had in the past where people haven't stayed with us for as long as other virtual assistants and contractors, and it was because we missed one of these stages. So it was very, very important that we had a 3-stage interview process. And then point number 5 is the onboarding. It's all about when that individual joins you, starts adding value to your team, what is it that you need to do to make sure they get, 1, the right first impression, but 2, they feel comfortable that the work you're asking them to do, they can carry out to the best of their ability, and then they can make sure that they own that role. The last thing you want is somebody joining you with ambiguity, a bit of concern. You want them asking lots of questions, but you want them to be asking the right questions that allow them to move forwards, not just questions on day-to-day stuff that really they should pick up quite quickly. So I'm going to cover these 5 steps in detail. Now, why are we doing all this outsourcing? Why should you be outsourcing too? The biggest thing is, as I alluded to in my video yesterday, and I'll try and put a link in the comments below here if you missed that, is there's a value on your time exchanged for money. So whether that is £5 an hour, £25 an hour, £550 an hour, whatever that value is, there is time exchange for money on every task that we do. So by outsourcing, we bring somebody into our business who's a specialist in certain areas, which allows us to move towards doing the higher value tasks. So admin, responding to emails, taking unnecessary calls coming into the business, all of these things distract us from earning more money or gaining new clients or bringing more business into what we do. So it's just making sure that the items that we can outsource, the lower value tasks, we make sure that we bring somebody in to do that. And it's not necessarily that they're worth less, they are better at those jobs than we are. So why is it so important to outsource things? Because it allows you to do what you do best, but it also allows somebody else to do what they do best. So it's a win-win all round, and it frees up your time to do more business. So let's look at then how we start implementing these 5 steps. So number 1 is detail the tasks. So this might seem quite a simple task to begin with. It might seem as though, well, that's just a given. We all know what we do. But I think that's the key point, is we all know what we do, and it's all up here. We need to get it on paper, and we need to get it on paper now. So over the coming days and potentially weeks, as you're doing things, you just need to bullet point, have a pen and pad next to you, and as you're doing things, just detail it down. This step's first, this step second, third, and you just need to get the skeleton behind what it is that you do day to day, week to week within these tasks. And I guarantee you will be surprised at how many steps it actually takes to do very simple things. And then it will start to make more sense as to why it takes so long to do certain things, and also why we keep adding to that to-do list and we just don't get it done. So detailing the points as much as possible is crucial, because that then forms the basis of your job description or your roles and responsibilities for that virtual assistant coming in. So very, very crucial that we start that early on. Number 2, creating the advert. So as I mentioned before, we want that to be specifically vague. Now, what I mean by the phrase specifically vague is we want an advert that it allows the individual to understand exactly what they're going to be in charge of and responsible for, but it also allows them to have some ownership that they could potentially bring their skills to the table to complete these roles in different ways. So for example, if you're looking for a finance virtual assistant for part of your business, maybe it's bookkeeping, maybe it's invoicing, etc., and you want them to have specific 0 skills, then that's very, very niche, and you're going to be looking for a very small targeted group of individuals. However, if we've got in there that you want some accounting software experience, all of a sudden that's broadened that right open. So you just keep the horizons very wide and you allow more people to be interested in your role. So the roles and responsibilities, the bullet points that you've been created, they will form the basis of your job description. The key thing that we've experienced, and that probably some of you out there who are watching this morning will have experienced too, if you've started to employ or take on virtual assistants already, is skill sets, the softer skills, the communication, the writings. These elements are so much more crucial than the skills themselves, because as most of us know, you can learn continuously for specifics, but personality, which is why I was talking about the wealth dynamics testing yesterday, and characteristics, these are the things, morning Jim, these are the things that make the difference between having a member of staff in, or a contractor, a virtual assistant in, who's going to think outside the box for their role, and somebody who's just going to do exactly what you've told them and sit there and wait for the next task to come along. So it's very crucial that you're detailing, you want good English communication if your virtual assistant is outside the UK. Experience in such a field. You want to see a good understanding or working knowledge of X software, skill sets. All of these different things around making sure that the individuals that are, one, viewing your advert, but two, making sure that the ones who are actually applying for your role have broad skill sets that you can utilize. And I'll come on to why that's so important in a little bit. So number 3, once we've got that advert together, we've got the detail, we've detailed the skills. Number 3 is a Google form. Now, any of you that have used onlinejobs.ph or virtual assistant-based roles and websites, you will know that you will get a very high volume of applicants. Now, when I say high volume, if you think back to a normal job advert on Indeed, Rightmove, any of these other locations, you could probably look to get maybe 50 to 60 applicants for a general role, give or take, 10 to 15.